This is a micturition process. This is your urinary bladder, your internal sphincter, urethral sphincter, your urethra, your external urethral sphincter. This represents the parasympathetic ganglion in the bladder wall. And right here are the sacral segments of the spinal cord. And the green and red represents the signals that is sent up to the pons and back reverse. Green represents the involuntary and the red represents the voluntary. Micturition is the act of urinating. The process involves involuntary reflex and voluntary control. Urine is released via the urethra. The internal urethral sphincter compresses and retains urine in the bladder. This sphincter is composed of smooth muscle and is involuntary, as represented right here. And however, the external sphincter is composed of skeletal muscle and provides voluntary control of voiding urine, which is represented right here. It's important that the detrusor relaxes while the bladder is filling and the urethral sphincters remain tightly closed. Now I'm going to look at the process of involuntary micturition reflex, represented in the green. After the bladder fills to about 200 milliliters, the stress receptors transmit afferent signals to the sacral spinal cord with sensory fibers in the pelvic nerve, usually segments 2 and 3 of the spinal cord. Efferent signals from the spinal cord travel back to the bladder by motor fibers in the pelvic nerve and the parasympathetic ganglion in the bladder wall. The output from the ganglion excites the detrusors. Efferent signals relax internal urethral sphincter, and this results in emptying of the bladder. And this is a means of control. If this is the means of control, it would be evident that young children and people with spinal cord injuries have a problem with this. And for voluntary, which represents in the red, the stress receptors signals are received by the Micturition center in the pons, which is up here. And if the time is right to urinate, the pons return signals to spinal interneurons that excite the detrusor and relax urethral sphincter, thus urine is released. If the time is not right to urinate, signals from the cerebrum excite spinal interneurons that keep the external urethral sphincter contracted. Right here. And the urine is not released but retained in the bladder. After it is time to urinate, signals from the cerebrum inhibit sacral neurons that keep the external sphincter closed. When it relaxes, the external urethral sphincter releases urine.